The pattern that burned tanks across Ukraine just broke. Drone finds you, missile drops, armor fails. That sequence was predictable. Comfortable. Britain just removed that comfort. Challenger 3 wasn't designed to win a parade. It was rebuilt to survive the battlefield Russia thought it had already solved, and that means Putin just lost one of his most reliable assumptions. Not in theory, in planning. So, what did Britain actually change? Picture the scene. Morning haze hanging low over churned ground. Engines idling like restrained thunder. Thermal optics already awake, already searching, long before the sun decides to show up. Inside the turret, nobody is relaxed. Not because they're scared, because they know what the last 2 years proved in public. The battlefield doesn't start when you fire. It starts when a drone finds you. That's why this isn't a cosmetic refresh. Britain didn't unveil a nostalgic extension program. They unveiled a deliberate reconstruction of how a heavy tank survives, detects, and kills when the sky is crawling with sensors and the threats don't come from the front anymore. The UK just unveiled a tank upgrade Russia won't like. Not because it's loud, because it's built to remove comfort, and once you see what actually changed, you'll understand why Moscow has to account for this now, not later. So, what did Britain build? Challenger 2 had a reputation crews genuinely trusted. Ask British tankers, and you'll hear the same kind of respect you hear when people talk about something that kept them alive. Protection you could lean on, accuracy you could count on, reliability that felt almost stubborn. And yes, the most British detail imaginable, a built-in boiling vessel, so a crew can make tea while the world tries to kill them. People picture tanks as machines, but inside it's 4 people, sweating, listening, reading the terrain, trying to stay ahead of what they can't see. The problem was never that Challenger 2 was useless. The problem was that it was drifting away from the ecosystem it would need to fight inside. The gun was rifled. That made it unique in NATO. Its ammunition sat in a separate lane from most Allied logistics. Its digital backbone came from an older generation of battlefield thinking. And while Britain preserved what worked, Russia never stopped moving. Tanks like the T-90M continued rolling into service with improved optics and modernized fire control. Upgraded T-80 variants kept appearing with refreshed protection packages. Even the T-72 line stayed dangerous because it never stopped evolving. Over all of it, Russia kept pushing the T-14 Armada as a kind of signal. Even though they are ghosts in the battlefield, never to be seen. A message that Russia intends to compete in the next generation of armor. Whether or not the messy reality is convenient. Then Ukraine happened and the battlefield stopped being a theory problem. Armor engagement stopped feeling like maneuver warfare. They started feeling like surveillance warfare. Commercial quadcopters didn't just scout, they hunted. Thermal drones didn't just observe. They tracked movement through smoke, darkness, tree lines, bad weather, the kinds of conditions tanks used to use for cover. Top attack weapons came down from angles older armor geometry wasn't designed to defeat. FPV drones didn't rush, they hovered, patient, waiting for a pause, waiting for a mistake. Artillery didn't search blindly, it corrected in near real time because the sky was always watching. And when you're in a tank under that kind of attention, survivability stops being about how thick is the armor. It becomes about exposure time. It becomes about how quickly you're detected and whether you can break contact before the next layer arrives. Britain watched that transformation unfold in real time, not through sanitized doctrine slides, through footage, through after-action reality, through the kind of videos that make every crew member sit a little straighter because it's not a lesson anymore, it's a warning. So Britain didn't patch Challenger 2 and hope the battlefield would cooperate. They reworked the foundation. What emerged isn't just a better Challenger, it's a Challenger rebuilt to behave differently. At the center of that reset sits something Russia understands extremely well: a 120mm Rheinmetall L55A1 smoothbore. This isn't a new barrel story, it's a strategic alignment move. It pulls Britain back into NATO's ammunition ecosystem, the same family of standards used on top Leopard variants and other modern Allied platforms. It opens the door to modern long-rod kinetic penetrators, designed specifically to challenge composite armor and reactive armor arrays like the ones mounted on upgraded Russian tanks. Higher chamber pressure means higher muzzle velocity. Higher velocity means more penetration potential at distance. And distance isn't just range. Distance is time. Time to fire first, time to relocate, time to survive the follow-on shot that usually arrives right after the first one misses. Inside a turret, that difference isn't academic. It's the difference between spotting a flash in your thermal sight and having enough seconds to move before the return strike lands where you were. But the gun is only one layer. The real transformation is what Britain wrapped around it. A redesigned turret sitting on a fully digitized architecture. A commander with an independent, stabilized panoramic sight, scanning even while the gunner is already locked onto another target. Modernized thermal imaging. Tracking functions that shorten the gap between detection and engagement. Russian armor doctrine has long emphasized tempo, rhythm, coordinated movement under layered support. Challenger 3 is engineered to compress the detection to engagement cycle in Britain's favor, and that directly challenges any attempt to hold a tempo advantage. If you are enjoying this video, hit like and subscribe right now, because the next part is where this upgrade stops being hardware and starts becoming a problem Russia has to plan around. Now we need to talk about survivability, because this is where the redesign becomes impossible to ignore. Ukraine forced every tank designer into the same uncomfortable realization. Passive armor alone is not enough anymore. Modern battlefields attack from above, from oblique angles, and from beyond direct line of sight. Steel still matters, but steel by itself no longer decides. That's why Britain moved toward hard kill protection. Trophy isn't designed to take a hit, it's designed to prevent the hit from arriving. For a missile team operating something like the 9M119 or Cornet family, that changes the engagement itself. A shot that fails isn't just wasted ammunition, it's a flare gun. It risks revealing the firing position, and in a drone-saturated environment, exposure is a countdown. Inside the vehicle, that shift feels immediate. A warning tone cuts through the headset. The crew doesn't get a long debate. The system reacts faster than human argument, and the missile never reaches the armor. Layered onto that is a modular composite armor suite. The full composition stays classified, but the intent is visible. Protection that can evolve without rebuilding the entire tank. Modules that can be revised as threats change. A design built to keep adapting, instead of freezing in a threat era that's already gone. And right here, we only need to say it once. Threats evolve. Protection has to keep pace. Then comes the quieter revolution that decides outcomes more often than people want to admit. Digital integration. Challenger 3 isn't just a tank that shoots better, it's a tank that fits into how NATO fights now. Sensor data can move faster, targets can be shared without delay, drone feeds can shape where armor moves and when it shoots. Inside a NATO formation, that connectivity multiplies effectiveness because the tank isn't an isolated hunter anymore. It's part of a wider structure designed to see faster and act faster. And from Russia's perspective, the most important part is simple. This isn't theoretical. Initial operating capability is projected around 2027. Broader fielding continues through the end of the decade. Live fire trials and integration milestones are already visible. This isn't a concept model on a trade show floor. It's moving toward deployment, and once operational, these tanks do not sit quietly in Britain. They integrate into Europe's deterrence posture, which means Moscow has to account for them now, not when they cross a border, but when they enter planning assumptions. And the most consequential part of this upgrade may not be mechanical, it may be doctrinal. Because Challenger 3 signals something bigger than one tank. Britain, and by extension NATO, is not retreating from heavy ground combat. It's refining it, and that's where the implications widen. Now let's move from what Challenger 3 is to what it does to a fight. Upgrades only matter if they remove options from the other side. If Challenger 3 ever faces Russian armor, the real question won't be whether it looks modern. The question is whether its changes force Russian crews to operate outside the engagement windows they're used to. Start with the gun. Challenger 3 replaces the old rifled system with a 120mm Rheinmetall L55A1 smoothbore. The L55A1 supports high-performance APFS-DS long rod penetrators engineered to challenge modern composite armor and reactive protection arrays. It also enables programmable, multi-purpose, high-explosive rounds that can be configured for impact, delay, or airburst depending on the target. So when we talk about range, we're not just talking about map distance, we're talking about gun pressure, ammunition design, and fire control confidence combining to create earlier, more reliable engagement opportunities. Earlier engagements alter tempo, and tempo determines initiative. Modern tanks don't fight clean duels. They fight layered problems, infantry and defilade, hardened positions, missile teams, drone launch points, light armor screening artillery corridors. Programmable rounds reduce friction inside the turret. A crew doesn't need to pause and restructure its entire solution when the target changes. The tank adapts faster, and faster adaptation forces the opposing side to defend more variables at once. Predictability shrinks. Then there's the optics and the hunter-killer workflow. Challenger 3 allows the commander to search independently while the gunner engages. Discovery continues even during firing. The find confirm fire move loop tightens. And that final step, movement, is no longer optional. Drone-fed counterfire punishes anything that lingers after shooting. The crew that completes the cycle faster doesn't just hit first, it becomes harder to fix. Protection completes the architecture. Exact armor composition isn't publicly detailed in a way that should be speculated on, but the design philosophy is visible. Layered survivability, a protection package built to evolve. Active protection integrated as part of the survivability concept. Decisions shaped by top attack and drone-assisted strike realities. The goal isn't a mythical invulnerable plate. The goal is reducing the number of clean solutions available to an attacker. With hard kill active protection in the picture, anti-tank teams cannot rely on old rhythms. Interception changes the cost of the first shot. A failed launch risks exposure. And exposure under constant aerial observation escalates quickly. Now, here's where the consequence sharpens. When a tank forces you to fire closer, coordinate tighter, and expose longer, you're not just adjusting tactics. You're increasing risk, and when risk increases across every anti-armor team, every missile lane, every layered defense plan, pressure compounds, that's the part Russia has to model now. Not whether Challenger 3 wins every duel, but whether its presence forces Russian forces to spend more resources, accept more exposure, and operate inside narrower margins. And narrower margins are where mistakes begin. That's the shift. Now zoom out. Challenger 3 isn't just a British upgrade story. It arrives at a moment when Russia has spent 2 years reinforcing a powerful message. Heavy armor is exposed, drones dominate, and traditional tanks struggle to survive under constant surveillance. That message wasn't invented. Armor has burned, columns have stalled, drone footage has reshaped how the public imagines mechanized warfare. But what Russia demonstrated tactically, NATO absorbed strategically. Challenger 3 is not a denial of what happened in Ukraine. It's a response to it. Britain didn't abandon the tank. It rebuilt it around the battlefield that actually exists. Layered protection, integrated sensing, coalition interoperability, and an industrial base designed to keep evolving. That's not spectacle. That's institutional adaptation. And adaptation speed matters more than any single platform. Placed inside Europe's deterrence posture, Challenger 3 doesn't stand alone. It operates within NATO's broader architecture. Heavy brigades, integrated air defense, electronic warfare, multinational coordination. From Moscow's perspective, that matters, because systems are harder to intimidate than isolated vehicles. If heavy brigades regain confidence under drone-heavy conditions, certain assumptions weaken. That Western armor hesitates. That surveillance dominance guarantees paralysis. That vulnerability equals strategic leverage. Challenger 3 doesn't eliminate risk. It reduces predictability, and deterrence depends on uncertainty in the opponent's calculations. There's also the long game factor. Revitalized production lines and digital architecture mean Britain can iterate again. Sensors can be swapped, protection refined, software updated. The platform isn't frozen in time. It's designed to evolve. Long competitions favor the side that can adapt repeatedly without destabilizing itself. Russia understands endurance, But when NATO demonstrates it can observe real combat and redesign a core land platform within a decade, that signals more than hardware competence. It signals intent. Challenger 3 does not chase radical experiments. It reinforces fundamentals. See first, survive longer, integrate deeper, upgrade without starting over. That kind of modernization doesn't shout. It quietly closes gaps. By the end of this decade, Challenger 3 will stand inside Europe's forward deterrence line, not as a miracle weapon, not as an unstoppable breakthrough machine, but as proof that NATO heavy ground power is not retreating. It is refining, and refinement under pressure is more strategically dangerous than stagnation. Now here's the emotional reality. Inside that turret, none of this feels like geopolitics. It feels like 4 people in a steel hull, trusting the systems around them to buy seconds. Seconds that decide whether they go home. That's what this upgrade ultimately protects. And somewhere in a planning room, not on a battlefield, not in a viral clip, someone has to redraw assumptions because of it. Not because the silhouette changed, because the margin did. So when we say the UK just unveiled a tank upgrade Russia won't like, it's not about hype. It's about recalculation. And the real question isn't whether Challenger 3 is impressive on its own. It's whether it marks the beginning of a broader NATO armor modernization wave that compresses Russia's options over time. Because once both sides begin redesigning core land platforms based on real battlefield lessons instead of theory, competition accelerates. And acceleration changes everything. If you want to follow where this armored competition goes next, whether Russia adapts faster, whether NATO consolidates advantage, or whether the balance settles into something colder and more rigid, make sure you're subscribed.